We'll continue now with managerial controls. Now, the employees which are working in the organization, their data is maintained in a database or in the documentation and program library. Okay, you can see in the image the employees personnel file. Now, in the earlier controls, we are not talking about how to preserve or ensure security of these documents. Okay, in physical access controls, logical access controls, environmental controls, we are not talking about how to specifically ensure data security. Sure, we are talking about data integrity controls, but again in that, for storage and for storage management, there are no specific controls. So for that, we have another controls. We call them as data resource management controls. Okay, here we are talking about specific data in the organization. For example, employee personnel files. Here what we will do is, here we will define data. So all data will not be covered here, only specific data will be covered. We will now see what are the areas for which we will have controls. First one is update. If you want to update any file, there are restrictions. You have to take permission, and only then after that you can do updation. Then you also need authorization if you want to add something, change something, or delete something. Tell me, is this similar to application security audit? And tell me which chapter I'm referring to.
Chapter 6.
Yes. So this is the content in these controls. It is basically from chapter number 6. Then concurrency. Now, if the same data is being used by two different processes, it might be the case that the data is being changed by process number 1, but it should not have been changed for process number 2. So what this concurrency control will ensure is to maintain the data integrity when it is being accessed by two processes, so that both will get the original file and not the updated file, so that they can work on the same. For example, uh, your senior is accessing the file and you are also accessing the file. If you make some changes, the senior will not be able to understand that these are the updates. He will just refer it to as a original file. So what we will do is, using concurrency control, unless and until you save the file, it will not be updated in the original file. So we will just have controls that if the file is being saved, a message will be displayed on the senior's terminal that this file has been updated. If you want, you can either access the original file or you can continue using the updated file. So that is what, that is a concurrency control. You are ensuring data integrity when data is being used by two processes. Okay, remember here confidentiality, availability, and integrity. Then quality. How we will ensure that the quality of data is maintained? We will ensure three things: that it is accurate, complete, and consistent. What does consistent mean? The same data is being stored in the server and it is given to the peripherals or other supporting servers. So the data should be accurate, complete, and consistent. If it has these three characteristics, we will say that the quality of data is being maintained. So here the three controls we will have is update controls, concurrency controls, and quality controls. Update, concurrency, and quality. Then definition. We will make sure that our database complies with the definition standards. Here, now we have already defined the database that it is an employee database. Here we will have a record of all the skills, the qualification, experience, their salary, benefits, and all. Okay, you will not store this data with other information. So we will define what is the data for that database and how it is being structured and managed logically. So in definition, we will make sure that the database complies with definition standards. We will not try to include any other data if it is outside the data definition for that database. Then how to make sure that backup is taken, that only authorized access is done. We will do existence and backup control. In existence and backup controls, we will take backup of the database. Then we will ensure that only authorized person are accessing the same. Now, how we will ensure this? How we will ensure that backup is taken, that authorized access is done? We will do 4 activities. What are the 4 activities? Dual recording. What is dual recording? Yes, we have learned what are the 4 types of backup. Where do you think this dual recording can happen? In which type of backup? Yes, tell me what are the types of backup first.
Full backup, incremental backup,
Differential backup and
Differential backup, mirror backup,
mirror backup.
mirror backup.
now in these backups, tell me if you are updating one file, in which backup it gets updated immediately. Okay, if you make changes in the file, simultaneously changes in the backup file will also be done. In which backup does this happen?
Full backup.
Huh?
Incremental backup.
Yes, is it incremental backup?
Full
Okay,
backup. So
it is mirror backup. Okay, what is the concept of mirror backup? We will have the original database and we will have a mirror database. Once you store a file or you prepare a file or change a file in the original database, automatically the file in the mirror backup will also be changed or updated simultaneously. Only why mirror backup is dangerous? Because once you delete a file from the original database, it will simultaneously also be deleted from the mirror backup. So what we will do is we will maintain 2 database and we will do dual recording of all the transactions. Okay, so this will not be like mirror backup, that if you delete a record from the original database, that it will also be deleted from the another database. If you are doing dual recording, you are making sure that if the data is deleted, you will have backup and you can recover that data. So for that you are doing dual recording. Then periodic dumping. Now what do we do in periodic dumping? What we will do is, after the database is full, we will transfer the data in the database to a permanent database. Okay, after some intervals like 2-3 days or weeks or months, we will do periodic dumping. Then logging input. What do we do in logging input? Whatever changes we are making to the database, we will maintain a log of the same to ensure that if any unauthorized person has accessed the system, we have the record of the same. So that is why we are maintaining log of input, and then we will also keep a log of changes. Now tell me, what are the objectives of audit trail? Objectives of audit trail from chapter number 6.
Unauthorized access. E. Detecting unauthorized access.
restructuring, reconstructing events, and
Events.
P is
Personal accountability. Okay.
personal.
Okay, so now you are able to remember at least 60% of the answer. 62 something. So why we are doing that? Detecting unauthorized access, reconstruction of events, and personal accountability to ensure that there is audit trail of transactions, and we are also maintaining a log. Similar to that, we are maintaining a log here to ensure that any data has been changed or any data has been entered, whether the person is authorized person or an unauthorized person. So here you can refer to chapter number 4 and chapter number 6 for remembering this point. So after this existence and backup control, we have access control. Now you know why we need access controls to maintain data integrity. We will use boundary controls and data encryption. Okay, you can either here also write logical access, physical access, environmental. You can either write data encryption or boundary control. Just we have to make sure that we are maintaining data integrity. So for data resource management controls, remember the points as this. What is the first point in data resource management controls?
Update controls.
Okay, update, then existence backup, then access, then update, concurrency, and quality. No, in this chart, what is the first point?
Definition.
Definition.
Okay, because of that tab, I'm not able to see the first point. That is why I'm asking. Okay, definition. So definition controls, then existence backup controls, access controls, update, concurrency, quality. Okay, remember them 3 by 3 so that means remember the first 3 and then move on to the next 3. So we have completed 4 categories of managerial controls: operations management control, security management control, quality assurance management controls, and data resource management controls. Now out of these 4 controls, tell me, do you have any queries, or you are not able to recollect them?
So should we study the reasons for emergence of quality assurance or just skip it?
The reasons, see, the reasons are very easy. You can write them on your own. Just there are main 2 reasons that it is the user's demand and we want to avoid any legal liabilities. Okay, only that, and they have added another points. In exam, they might ask what is the concept of quality assurance management controls. You have to also write the reasons. You don't have to explain the reasons. Okay, but we have seen that it is an easy concept. They have just given the list of reasons. Okay, is it difficult that quality assurance management controls to remember? Okay, just remember Jeff Bezos. He keeps on talking about quality and customer focus and obsessive working ethic. Okay, let's continue. Yes, any queries you have for these 4? We have almost completed 50% of the managerial controls. You can see from the chart that we are going in reverse gear. Instead of going in the chronological manner, we are going in the descending order. Okay, that is how you will understand this better. Okay, let's continue. Yes. Now tell me, what did we learn in chapter number 5? What is the name of the cycle in chapter number 5?
SDL, system development life cycle.
System development life cycle. Now in this image, this person is working on system development. Now we have learned how to do system development. Now we will see whether it is been done correctly or not. Okay. So for chapter number 5, we have these system development controls. As I told you that every chapter has its own set of controls. Only what they have done is they have clubbed all these controls and written it under the managerial controls. So this is like a summary of all the chapters. In this, first one is system authorization activities. Okay. System authorization activities. All the activities that we are doing in system development life cycle, we will write them down, okay, phase wise. We will write them down phase wise, that in preliminary investigation, these are the activities that we have to do. These are the points that the analyst must make sure. So everything we will write down. It must be communicated in a formal way. We have to make sure that it is feasible, and we have to also give a copy of it to the system professionals. Okay. Why we are giving it to the system professionals? So that they can understand if there is something wrong in the phases of the system development lifecycle. So how to give permission, how to obtain authorization and all, we will see that in system authorization activities. Then user specification activities. Now we are developing a software or we are developing a system. What we will do is we will involve the users actively. We will not ignore the users, saying that these are the technical aspects and the user cannot understand them. We will ensure that the user understands even the technical aspects. We will simplify it for him. The user from his own side will also take efforts. We will also take efforts. So it will be a joint effort. It should not be the case that user is not participating actively and all. And we will keep on writing this. We will do a detailed documentation. Now, what is D written D? It is detailed written documentation. In which activities the user was involved, whether he was able to participate actively or not. We should not ignore the user, saying that these are the technical aspects and user cannot understand. We will simplify those technical aspects and make sure that users understand it. We will simplify it for him. The user from his own side will also take efforts. We will also take efforts. So it will be a joint effort, and whatever we are doing with the user, we will prepare documentation in detail. So we will do DWD, detailed written documentation. After that, technical design activities. Whatever design we have prepared for the, or whatever is the concept of software that we have written, we will try to translate it into a design, or we will translate the design into activities. Okay. So whatever you have learned in program testing or program designing in chapter number 5, just give a summary here. Just make sure that the more detailed the documentation is, the more qualitative document it is, we will see. Okay. So you have to make sure that the document is more detailed, so that we can say that it is more qualitative. Okay, when I say that chapter number 5, you have to just mention the questions in program testing or program design. In technical design activities, we will make sure that whether we are able to do that correctly or not. So system authorization, user specification, and technical design. What are the controls for accessing the system? Then what to do with the user, and what are the things we do in technical design? Now, internal auditor's participation. Okay, he should be included at all the stages. His participation must be continuous. And if there are any conceptual suggestions that internal auditor has, the same must be considered in the system development lifecycle. See, till now, if auditor is saying something and if the organization is not listening, there was no control to detect that or report that. The internal auditor couldn't have gone directly to the steering committee or to the top management to report the same. So that that doesn't happen. We are making sure that we have that kind of control in system development and management control. So This is in relation to the communication with the internal auditor. Then program testing. Here we will test all the modules individually, then all the modules in an integrated manner. Then we will also see whether there are any logical errors or program errors. We will do program debugging. We will also prepare test data. What is test data? We will put this data into the software and see whether the output is as per our specifications or not. Why we are trying to use a bit complicated test data, so that we can understand whether the system can process complicated data also or not. Okay, so try to use meaningful test data for testing the program or debugging the program. So in program testing, remember that we will test all the modules, we will do program debugging, and the test data must be meaningful. Then user test and acceptance procedure. Now, yes, do you remember what is unit testing in chapter number 5? What is unit testing? Okay, the smallest unit of software, we are isolating it and testing it. That is unit testing. So we will start testing from a unit level, then individually modules will start testing, and then as a whole software we will start testing. So that is individual and whole testing. We will keep on doing it rigorously and in a formal manner. Who will do this testing? It will be done by the test team. Who are the people in the test team? User personnel, system professionals, internal audit personnel. And why we are doing this? So that if all the people in the organization can do the testing, they can see whether it is meeting the requirements or not. Finally, we can accept that software. So that is why the name of the point is not testing, it is user test and acceptance procedure. What we will do here is we will take the software to user personnel, means users, then system professionals, then internal auditor, and the remaining personnel in the organization. We will see whether they are able to use the software or not. We will give the software to them for testing, and then once it has been approved by everyone, we will accept that software. So this procedure we will call as user test and acceptance procedure. Okay, any point you didn't understand here in system development? Okay, as soon as you complete the revision of chapter number 5 now, you can come here to system development management controls. Okay, we'll continue. The first 3 are system authorization, user specification, and technical design activities. Then internal auditor, program testing, and user testing. Okay, if they directly ask what is system development management controls, for each subheading, don't write more than 2 or 3 points, or even if you write 1 or 2 points, that is sufficient. They will never ask individually what are the system authorization activities in system development management controls. So try to summarize it and try to remember what is the crux of that heading. After this, yes, so what do you see in the image? Can you understand it?
Coding language.
Yes, it is coding language. Now, we want to evaluate whether the code of the program is correct or not. Till now, we have seen this in testing. okay, whether the code is entered correctly or not, but we have seen it in chapter number 5. But we are not keeping a control on it. Okay, it is not a control. We are just verifying whether the coding is done correctly or not. So because there was no control earlier, now we have introduced a new control here. It is called as programming management control. We have divided this programming management into phases. These are not the points, these are the phases of programming management controls. What we are doing here is we are analyzing the program. We are seeing whether it is working properly or not, and if there are any errors, we will remove them. So let's see what are the phases. Planning. If you are developing a program, we will use techniques like work breakdown structures, WBS or Gantt or PERT charts. Why we will use these techniques to monitor progress of program development. Then control. What is control? If we have developed the program, we will see whether it is working properly or not. If there are any deviations, then we will correct them. We will ensure that the software has 3 characteristics. It is authentic, accurate, and complete. Authentic, accurate, and complete. AAC. We will ensure the software is authentic, accurate, and complete. After this, we will also have design controls. We will adopt either a structured design or an object-oriented design. Now, from design, can you remember the person we had for program design?
System designer.
Yes,
Manish Malhotra.
yes, Manish Malhotra. So, if he is designing a costume, okay, it is a marriage costume or a special occasion costume, that is a object-oriented design. Okay, it is a conceptual design. But if he's talking just a shirt or a trouser or a belt in such a way, then it is a structured design. Okay, you are talking about a specific component in the software, so that is a structured design. So object oriented design, structured design. Object oriented design is a conceptual design. Structured design is, we are talking about the components of a system. So you can either adopt a structured design or a object oriented design approach. Then coding. How to do coding? How to use these coding controls? You can either do top-down approach, bottom-up approach, or use threads and documentation. Now tell me, what do you do in top-down approach? Okay, let me give an example. Okay, we will take another example here, that if you are playing a game, if the game is working properly, then it is fine. But if the game is not working in certain area, what you will do is you will access the unit where it is not working and we will try to analyze it. So what you're doing is, first you are using evaluating the software as a whole, and then if there are any problems, you are going to the unit level. So that is top down approach. You are going from system software to unit of the software. Now if you do this in a reverse manner, if you check all the units first, then all the modules, and then if you see the software as a whole, that is a bottom up approach. Okay, so that is how you will see whether the coding is done correctly or not. Yes, any question?
So did we see in somewhere this top-down approach and bottom-down approach? Where is it, sir?
Yes, we have seen it in chapter number 5. Okay, revise chapter number 5. For each stage, there are 7 questions. I think we saw it in, I think, a design only. Okay, we will just clarify that later. Then we will also have controls for testing. how to do unit testing, how to do integration testing, how to do whole of program testing. Okay, so these are the types of testing. We will just have controls how to do them. Okay, in chapter number 5, we learned what do we do in those testing types, and here we will see what are the controls, how to do that testing. Okay, or if the testing is being done, whether it is done in correct manner or not. Okay, and then operations and maintenance. Here we have to just give a summary of the types of maintenance: repair maintenance, adaptive maintenance, and perfective maintenance. We will do this maintenance to ensure that the system is being developed in a correct manner or not, or you will see whether this maintenance is done in correct manner or not. Okay, so these are the controls to ensure that the maintenance is done correctly or not. Okay, now I will ask a question. You have to tell me which type of maintenance I'm talking about. Okay, I am curious. I want to make myself perfect. I'm not thinking about anything else in my environment. I just want to make changes in myself. Which type of maintenance I'm talking about?
Can you repeat, sir?
Okay. I am curious about learning something new. I want to make myself perfect. I am not concerned with what is happening in the environment, and I am not doing it for competing with someone. I just want to make changes in myself.
Perfective.
That is perfective maintenance. Now, there are a lot of competitive firms in the market. They are better than me. They have more skills. I am upgrading myself so that I can be of that level, or I can deliver a quality product similar to them, or a bit better product.
Adaptive.
Adaptive maintenance. Okay. Now, there is some problem in the system. We are troubleshooting those problems.
Rescue.
Yes. Yes. Now tell me example of repair maintenance. What do we do in repair maintenance? Okay, you are able to remember at least half of the concepts. So these were the programming management controls. Okay, what are the headings once again? Planning, design, then coding, testing, then control and operations and maintenance. Okay, instead of remembering the headings, try to remember the phases. You will be able to understand or remember this better. Programming management controls. Okay, here we are talking about program debugging and all, and whether the coding is done correctly or not, whether the testing is done correctly or not, maintenance is done correctly or not. So whatever we have learned in chapter number 5, we will just see whether there are controls or not, and whether all the activities are done correctly or not. Okay, so what is your first stage? Your first stage is to understand the chapter, then memorize the chapter, and then read these controls and again revise the entire chapter. Okay, if you do this 2-3 times, you will understand the chapter and all the controls better. Okay, so again in management controls, we have planning, control, design, coding, testing, operation, and maintenance. Now tell me where we will do unit testing. In which control we will do unit testing?
In testing.
In
Testing control.
Where we will do top-down approach and bottom-up approach?
Coding.
Coding. Where we will have structured design and object-oriented design? Sorry, I forget it. Okay, fine. I'm myself only giving answers and asking questions. Okay, in planning, remember that we want to monitor progress. We will use 3 techniques: WBS, Gantt, and PERT charts. They can ask you what is a PERT chart or what is a Gantt or what is a work breakdown structures. Because of that workout, I'm saying work down again. Okay, now only part which is remaining is top management, IS management controls. We will take that after 2 minutes. Take a break. Okay, don't go anywhere.